maybe a weekend washout. Don't want to use that term washout loosely, understanding the implications, especially for the holiday weekend. But over this past weekend, the NHC, the National Hurricane Center, highlighted an area that we need to watch in the Gulf, as well as just off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina. So a question, are we going to see something organized later this week, perhaps as we head into the weekend? What we can say is this looks to be the first real threat for some tropical trouble that Florida could face. But this time of year, it's not really the magnitude or the intensity of these storms that we need to worry ourselves with. Haley, it's more about the amount of rain that we could possibly see out of these systems. What we have synoptically speaking, so this is just the broad picture, 2 areas of high pressure, a weaker high, but also paying attention to what this dip in the jet stream could bring. So as we get some activity to move off into the Atlantic, more so the central Atlantic, what we see play out along the Gulf, maybe in the western Atlantic, that could help tug some of this moisture north. Regardless, there's a window that we have here open for tropical trouble to maybe brew. This morning, I'm still using that term loosely. You know?
I just don't want to scare any Floridians who may be tuning in. I mean, obviously, they're pros at this, but for folks who are having their plans going down to the 4th of July, going to the Sunshine State, don't go canceling plans. Whether or not this does get named, the implications are still going to be pretty similar, just very heavy rain. So while your beach forecast may not be the greatest, bring some extra games for inside of the house, and that may be where you need to transition some of those 4th of July plans. But it's not going to really have a great forecast picture, I would say, for the next 48 hours. It's so far in advance that we're just giving you that nod of this is coming. We will talk about it. And here's all the different factors that will go into the forecast. But it's really Wednesday through, I'd say, Saturday, Sunday, where it's the big go time in terms of the forecast window.
It's true. We're sitting here today. We've got a ridge of high pressure, in fact, that's situated over the Gulf. And while that doesn't mean totally dry skies, the more organized risk of rain is going to remain at bay. But that will change as we head later into the week. Look at the timestamp. So this is by Friday. It's not until Friday that we'll have that boundary that is going to be down near the Gulf, maybe in the western Atlantic, closer to the South Carolina coastline. And forecast models have been varying a bit. But I will say the global models have all indicated that something could stir. So that's why we'll be talking about it here throughout the week. In fact, when we look at the European models, there's the ensemble, which is several runs of the same model with a slightly different variable for each one. Without getting too much into the weeds, there has been a more confident shot that we see maybe a tropical depression try to form in the northeastern Gulf, which when we look at sea surface temperatures, this is some of the warmest waters that we have in the Gulf right now.
If it does become this tropical system, whether that be a depression or not, I wouldn't be totally surprised. I mean, obviously, when you're talking water temperatures into the upper 80s, I mean, that is perfect. That is hot tub water for these storms to continue to bubble up. So, you know, especially at this point, looking at the previous 2 named storms that we've had with the Atlantic Basin, even if it was kind of an on-the-cusp storm, I still wouldn't be surprised if the NHC just went ahead with it and did give us that C name for the year. But you were mentioning it earlier, we were behind schedule, and now we're already ahead of schedule by a little bit. And so none of these have been impactful. This one probably the most impactful out of what we've seen so far, but really just with the rain and some isolated flash flooding.
The C-name Storm 2 is going to be Chantal. That's going to be the next one that we see. These are the sea surface temperatures in the Gulf. The red line being the average. I know we show this a lot, but I think it's important to drive home that the past couple of years, things have been wildly warm. And when we look at the Atlantic Basin, it's really only the Gulf that's featuring these temperatures, which are well above average. That yellow line, we're obviously not done, so we're sitting here almost in July, but it's on par with what we've seen the past couple of years when you look at it collectively. But in the northeastern Gulf, which is where we might see some of this trouble brew up, waters are very conducive, as you had mentioned, kind of that bath water. And it's only going to be getting warmer because even if we do get a system that forms, this isn't going to do much to stir up the waters enough to where they're cooler. We look at this through midweek, and our Fox weather model is just one of many models, and we'll get higher confidence as we get closer to that forecast period. But I know that the Fox weather model has, for some reason, really liked Tampa getting drenched, right?
Unfortunately, it's just been targeting Tampa from, I'd say, Thursday all the way through Friday, maybe even into Saturday, Sunday as well, just with the storms. But really, I think the biggest forecast question is going to be which high wins out. The high that's sitting over the southeast, a little bit more over the Gulf, or the one into the Atlantic. If it's the Gulf high that wins out, it'll probably leave it over Tampa a little bit longer. And so I think that's what the Fox model is leaning towards. As far as the Atlantic high pressure, that would potentially pull some more of that moisture off away from the Gulf and then further up the Atlantic coast. So some question marks here yet to go. But again, the Fox model is just one of many, although it does do really well with tropical systems. I will say, like, it has been pretty spot on. So Tampa, just take that as a word of caution from the Fox weather system.
It's Jim Weber. He does a lot of work. He works down in Tampa, ironically, and this one for some reason has its focus on Tampa. But regardless of that, I think you look at the overall picture still, and we consider, all right, there's a heavy rain signal. Florida's very much going to get back into that rainy period, but it's just sometimes what we have to deal with this time of year. You just get that rain.
It is that summer forecast for you.